In the last episode, we started discovering the stunning historic city of Oaxaca in the southern highlands of Mexico. This place is fast becoming a major tourist destination, and for many good reasons, some of which we saw in the last episode, such as the beautiful historic architecture, including two of the most prominent cathedrals in the area, or the abundance of colorful art representing their rich culture and history in very expressive ways. Especially the culinary scene with some of the freshest ingredients that has single-handedly made this place a destination. This scene not only includes very delicious foods, but also tempting drinks, such as the region's famous chocolate drink that is even sometimes made with fresh cocoa. Not to mention that this area contains many archaeological sites, being that this area is home to the ancient people of the Zapotec and is essentially the center for the mezcal producing region in the country, giving you many opportunities for mezcal tasting. This city has many other interesting attributes, such as being near a town that is home to one of the widest trees in the world, or even rock formations that happen to look like waterfalls not too far from town. So join me in this episode as we continue discovering the beautiful city of Oaxaca, first starting with a climb to a viewpoint that I feel anybody visiting this city should check out. If you are a foodie and are curious about one of the best culinary scenes on the continent, then this is the episode for you. We will dig deeper into the delicious street foods as well as the many refined restaurants this city has to offer.
Beautiful presentation. Of course, in Oaxaca, I expect that.
We pick up where we left off in the last episode, which was the Benito Juarez market. This is a very sizable market with many artists and products, and was also the place where I got to have my first sample of mezcal in this visit. It was here that I got to try some very natural tasting cheese, as well as some popular street food. From the market area, I start walking back to the main plaza before heading out to the stunning view of the city. And in the main plaza, we are once again witness to the beautiful marimba music. Alright guys, after spending some time here in the historical center of the city, we're going to veer off a little bit towards the west, the northwest, almost directly west of the historical center, to a very beautiful and famous viewpoint that gives you a very, very nice view of the city, and it's right at the base of the mountain with the pine forest, so it's a really nice contrast. It will take about maybe 20-30 minutes. Most of the walk is easy, but the very end gets pretty hard. It gets pretty steep, as you will see. And I'm hoping to stop by a really nice coffee shop along the way to relax a little bit, caffeine up, and eat the cheese before it goes bad. Probably give away the rest of it because honestly I don't feel like going back to the hotel. It's kind of a waste of time. My philosophy is when you're in a new place, you spend as little time as possible in the hotel, because every moment you spend in a place you do not live is special. It gives you an opportunity to discover things, people, food, etc. The goal is to zigzag along roughly 12 to 15 blocks from the main historic plaza to the viewpoint that also happens to be next to a very prominent outdoor theater where they hold the famous Guelaguetza festival in the summer. This walk to the viewpoint will give us the opportunity to see more of the city as we also look for a coffee shop along the way. And as I was walking, I looked at my Maps application and found a coffee shop by the name of Bien Cafe, which seemed to have very good reviews. Alright guys, I make a quick ride on Morelos. It's about halfway down the block or maybe a little bit less. That's what I saw on the map. Bien Cafe. Sometimes hard to find these businesses in the buildings. You kind of just have to look to the right. You find random things like these art galleries. Alright, so based on the map, it should be right here, and it is. Look at that. Beautiful place. Just like many other local coffee shops that I have patroned in the past, this one was filled with a variety of artwork. And to juice up for the hike, I got myself a cold brew for 50 pesos, which was roughly $2.50 at the time. As funny as it may sound, I also indulged in the cheese that I purchased in the market along with my coffee. I am a cheese lover, and it is not very often that I come across such natural tasting cheese. A side note, this city is filled with many other beautiful coffee shops like this one that I also visited, offering very delicious pastries and drinks. Or others that offer views of the stunning architecture while you enjoy your drink. Alright guys, it's time to move on. Again, I'm still left with this very delicious cold brew that's going to give me a lot more energy for the rest of the day. Alright, we have about 10 blocks to walk as we're walking north. This is the beginning of the incline, but this is the easy part. The hard part you will see is a lot of steps, which is when we turn left to go westward in about 4 blocks, which is also the prettiest part of the walk. By the way, it is rather common to run into people walking around selling food, like this very delicious coconut ice cream bar that to me tasted quite natural. And being that Oaxaca is a very artistic city, as I push forward, I run into many pieces of art, something that is quite common throughout the city. This has to be one of the most creative arts I've seen here. Pieces of art. Look at that, guys. And then you got flowers right on top. All right, guys, right where this art is, on the left-hand side, is where we start our climb. This part of the climb is roughly 3 to 4 blocks long, and you see more art as well as what seems to be beautiful residences. At this point, I took a brief pause to see the progress I had made so far and also to see how much I had left. After this brief pause, it was time to move on. And needless to say, as I was about halfway up the stairs, I was starting to feel quite tired. After a few minutes of climbing many flights of stairs and observing many beautiful pieces of artwork, I finally reached the top. And to be expected, I was a little out of breath. All right, guys, we did it. One straight shot. But I'm not going to lie to tell you that I didn't feel really tired because I'm actually pretty tired right now. But I wanted to do it in one shot. The view is that way, but where I want to show you guys first is where they hold the Jalatlaco, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, event in the summer. Fortunately, right now, it's pretty empty and a little dirty, but you know, it's because they're not using it right now, I'm assuming. But from here, you go to the other side. We're actually going underneath the main road, like the main highway that brings you into Oaxaca from Mexico City and Puebla. And just want to show you guys where this is held. From what I understand, Jalatlaco is a massive event that is held in July that celebrates local culture, especially the indigenous culture. Not only is this auditorium a beautiful and defining landmark of Oaxaca, but it also offers amazing views of the city. But the views are much better, in my opinion, at the viewpoint, so we go back through the tunnel and take the stairs on the other side to get to this viewpoint. Oh, that sun is strong.
After a short walk from the Guelaguetza Theater, we arrive at the viewpoint where the highway turns.
I want to give you guys a rundown of what we're looking at. Where the highway turns westward, we have a much more unobstructed view of the city. Of course, as we turn this way, we start to look southward towards the southern end of downtown, historic downtown, basically where the market area is, and even more south. And pretty much in this direction, you also hit the famous up-and-coming coastal city of Puerto Escondido. And as we turn this way, we start to look pretty much dead center into the historic downtown, and that's looking directly east, pretty much. And that takes you into Chiapas, which is the last state before you hit Guatemala. And the interesting thing about Oaxaca is that Oaxaca is, from what I understand, the most southern state where you actually have arid and semi-arid regions, because you have such high mountains surrounding the interior that there are some areas that are pretty much almost desert. This area is semi-arid to pine. If you look northward, you see, of course, pine trees on top of the mountains.
It was now time to head back down because there's so much more to see and do in the city. I decided to take a different route down to see a different part of the city, and I have to be honest with you, this route was not as clean as the other route going up. On a side note, I was also in a hurry to make it back to a laundromat to pick up clothes that I had left there, being that it is quite common to run out of clothes after traveling for many days. As I'm walking back into town through these very steep streets, I start to see more art, being that, as I have said before, this is a very artistic city. To me, this city really feels like a very culturally proud city, which is something you can definitely see in their art. Being that Oaxaca is the home of the ancient and glorious Zapotec people, you do see a lot of art celebrating their heritage. Aside from the indigenous heritage, you do also see a lot of art celebrating the beautiful local nature as well as the religion. The local pride in the art almost seems to have no limit, such as a structure that was almost entirely covered by art. And as you can see, corn has a big place in Oaxacan and Mesoamerican culture as a whole. The art in the city looked just as stunning at nighttime and was not only located in the historic center of the city, but also in surrounding barrio magicos or magical neighborhoods, which are essentially historic, artistic neighborhoods. One such neighborhood is the very vibrant and colorful Jalatlaco, located a few blocks northeast of Oaxaca's historic center. This neighborhood is full of energy and almost seems like a city in itself. Jalatlaco is filled with beautiful restaurants, coffee shops, bars, and of course, more street art. Not only were many of the businesses colorful and artistic on the outside, but they were just as captivating on the inside. And as much as I wanted to eat in one of these restaurants, I ended up running into many tempting street food options. In this stand, for example, I found many local favorites, including tasajo, which is a thinly cut preserved meat commonly found in Oaxaca. And for 190 pesos, which was roughly $10 at the time, I bought a taco dorado, which is a fried taco, what seemed to be a Oaxacan style quesadilla topped with lettuce and cheese, a molote, and some tasajo.
I'm not gonna lie, it is a little tough, but it tastes super natural and very rich. So the taste, phenomenal. Just a little tough, but that is fine. All right, I'm gonna try this molote, which is something that's very traditional in this area. I've been told it's from the Isthmus area. And inside you have potato, garlic, and some sort of chile.
Even though I was rather full from the first round of street food, I came across another vendor selling Oaxacan-style tamales, and you know I had to try one. I ordered a tamale filled with molé, and unlike the typical tamales, this one seemed to be wrapped with banana leaves and had quite a delicious, soft, and moist texture. Though I did have a lot of street food while visiting Oaxaca, I did dive deeper into the culinary scene by patroning many beautiful restaurants like this one in Jalatlaco, where I started with a very delicious coffee drink. Being that practically every type of food I have had in Oaxaca has been tasty, I decided to try a sandwich in this place, the Navajo sandwich. This sandwich contained chicken breast, manchego cheese, and other ingredients, and honestly is one of the best sandwiches I've had recently, especially when dipping it into the creamy sauce I was given. I patroned other beautiful restaurants like this one, which also happened to be located on the upper level. This place also happened to serve mole, which is the main reason why I entered this place. This delicacy is made from a variety of chiles and can come in different forms and colors depending on the type of chiles and other ingredients that are used. The rich flavors of mole make practically anything you dip into it so delicious. And by the way, this sauce supposedly dates back to the pre-Hispanic era.
The mole even makes the carrots taste better.
I had a main dish of estofado mole and also samples of 2 other moles for a total of 300 pesos or roughly $15 at the time. I had the pleasure of discovering another restaurant which I feel has to be one of the most beautiful in the city. This place boasted a much larger selection of mole than many other restaurants. To say that this restaurant was elegant is an understatement. From the many pieces of art representing the culture to a very beautiful tropical ambiance, as well as a very pleasant open-air concept, this place left quite an impression. Not only was the restaurant beautiful, but the food was phenomenal. Even the complimentary butter with bread was quite unique, as the butter itself was made with pear. So delicious was this butter that I had to order another round. And this is a prime example of the creativity and excellence in the culinary scene of this region. But of course, the main event was mole tasting, with 5 different tasters, along with an explanation of what each one contained.
¿Quieren español, inglés?
Español está bien.
Este lleva tomates,
Okay.
lleva lo que es hoja santa, una planta aromática con sabores de anís y de menta.
Okay.
Lleva lo que es comino y chile chilhuacle amarillo, chile endémico de la región. De ahí le agregamos masa para espesarlo.
Okay. Al siguiente.
Manchamanteles.
Okay. ¿Qué
Es
tiene?
hecho con frutas.
Okay.
Es fruta madura como manzana, piña, plátano, camotes, vinagre y diferentes chiles. Dulce y picante, agridulce.
Entonces, eso debe ser lo más dulce.
Sí, así es.
Okay.
Ahí
Siguiente.
el mole rojo.
Okay, es lo más
el
picante, ¿no?
mole de la casa, así es, más picante, elaborado con galletas marías.
Okay.
Pasas, canela, almendras, chilanche y guajillo.
Okay.
El siguiente se llama chichilo.
¿Qué
Es
tiene?
un mole que se elabora en el Día de Muertos o en los lutos.
Okay.
Este mole lleva ingredientes quemados.
Ah.
Lleva tortillas, chiles, hoja de aguacate, hoja santa, caldo de res y chile chilhuacle negro.
Okay.
Es un mole herbal, amargo y ahumado.
Okay.
Y el otro es el mole negro. Viene con 30 ingredientes en nuestra receta.
Eso también es picante, ¿no? O no, más
Es
dulce.
más dulce por el chocolate.
Es más como del Oaxaca, ¿no?
Así es el
Del-
mole tradicional oaxaqueño.
Pero también del pueblo o no? ¿Es similar al
No,
pueblo?
es totalmente diferente.
Okay.
Pues se elabora en fiestas y ya la pechuga de pollo rellena de quesillo con flor de calabaza.
It was time to try each one for myself. To me, the first one was kind of sour and was not that spicy. The second one happened to be my favorite, being that it was quite sweet from all the fruit. The third one had somewhat of a minty flavor. The fourth one was fairly spicy and had somewhat of a smoked flavor. And finally, the last one, made with 30 ingredients, including chocolate, was probably my second favorite, and it did have somewhat of a kick to it. When walking around in Oaxaca at nighttime, not only do you have many restaurants you can patron, but you also do have a variety of stores, resulting in cute shopping centers nestled in the historic buildings. I have to say that some of these stores had some rather unique products, like these mezcal flavored gummies. And of course, in the late hours, you can run into some nightlife, like this very interesting local bar that had a lot of character to it. Here, I was served 2 shots of mezcal with slices of orange and a salt made out of worm that they call sal de gusano, which is typically how mezcal is served in many places in Oaxaca, as well as with, believe it or not, chapulinas. And of course, if you develop an appetite after patroning a bar, there almost always seems to be some very delicious street food nearby. Another thing that one can do at nighttime is mezcal tasting, being that Oaxaca is big on mezcal production. This is one of such places that had an interesting variety of mezcal, and believe it or not, one that was actually infused with cannabis. I was lucky enough to find another place that seemed to have a much bigger variety of mezcal, as well as a more thorough explanation of what I was tasting. I was informed that their mezcal was produced in 3 towns within a short drive of the city of Oaxaca. Not only was I given very thorough explanations, but more information was available through brochures, digital displays, and even a map showing the different agave growing regions of the country. And check out the concentration in Oaxaca. What makes this place pretty unique in my opinion was that the menu was actually round, with the types of mezcal on the outer ring and the flavors on the inner ring, as well as a book that they had showing you the type of agave that was used to create each type of mezcal. I started this mezcal tasting with 4 different tasters: Sierra Negra, Cuarenteno, Chuparrosa, and Jabalí. I was told that the first one is called Sierra Negra because the agave has black spines. I find the second one to be very interesting, and you're about to see why.
Cuarenteno, it's from an agave that takes 40 years to grow. And I'm actually going to be showing a picture of this agave. It's one of the biggest agaves. ¿Cuál es?
So, de cuarentena no lo tengo aquí, pero es de la misma familia que este, entonces es similar.
Okay, so they don't have a picture of that particular agave, but this is from the same exact family as this. They grow quite high. They don't look like your typical agave that people think of.
The Chuparrosa mezcal comes from a much smaller agave, more similar to the typical agave many people think of. The fourth one, the Jabalí mezcal, comes from what I consider to be one of the most beautiful agaves, as you can see. Aside from these 4 tasters, I did try some other interesting varieties, like this one that had a dairy aftertaste. And believe it or not, one that was mixed in with coffee flavor. Honestly, I was really astonished by the different type of flavors of mezcal that they had, something that I know will be very hard to find in other places. One of the last tastings was espadín with mango, as well as some water to hydrate and wash it out.
¿Llega de ahí espadín con mango?
No, este es agüita, le voy a dar agüita.
Oh, okay.
Sí, no.
Gracias. Yo dije, wow, eso es mucho.
What a beautiful and authentic way to finish the night in Oaxaca with mezcal tasting. We have barely scratched the surface on how much there is to see and do in and around Oaxaca that I plan to get to in future episodes, such as the many more beautiful and colorful shops that you see around town, especially the very elegant and rustic restaurants with second-story terrazas, and just overall the stunning architecture that you see as you walk around. And not to mention the many more simple establishments cooking up local delicacies, which oftentimes have some of the best food in my opinion. And then you have the interesting unexpecteds as you're walking around, like this area selling beautiful flowers, or the random ice cream shop that you pass by selling tasty paletas, or even someone selling you what seems to be homemade cornbread. Not to mention many more mezcalerias where you can do some mezcal tasting, as well as a huge selection of beautiful, colorful, and sometimes eclectic art that we missed in our previous walks. There is such an overwhelmingly large amount of art in the city that honestly it feels like one large art gallery. And just like many other colonial cities, this place too had an old aqueduct, which does lend itself to amazing picture-taking opportunities. Many of the arches in the aqueduct were filled with more art, while others lead to local streets and walkways. The cool thing is, you have beautiful businesses of many sorts right in front of the aqueduct. From what I understand, this structure was built in the mid-1700s to transport fresh water from a nearby hill to the city center. Another thing you can do is continue discovering other barrio magicos like Xochimilco, located a few blocks from Oaxaca's historic plaza, where just like many other parts of Oaxaca and other pueblo magicos, you find plenty of public art above and on the walls. as well as an abundance of beautiful tropical colors in this very quaint neighborhood. Aside from all the beautiful flowers, art, and architecture, you also have many cute establishments selling a variety of products. One of such establishments that I found was a very beautiful rustic store selling different types of local chocolates, which is a place that I feel is a must visit, being that this region is known for its chocolate and that Mexico as a whole is considered to be the birthplace of this delicacy. Upon entry, this place looked like a chocolate museum with even raw ingredients showing how the chocolate is made. Not to mention a beautiful selection of the different chocolates that they had, and you know I had to buy some. This town also had a very interesting coffee shop that you're about to see.
All right, guys, we're gonna finish our little brief tour of Xochimilco, Barrio Xochimilco. It really seems like a good coffee shop. We'll see. It's called AM, right here on the northern side of Xochimilco.
I have to say that this is one of the most unique coffee shops that I have ever been to, because quite honestly, it felt like somebody's actual residence.
Look at this. It's all a coffee shop right here. I don't think I've ever seen a coffee shop like this. Almost looks like somebody's living room or dining room. Literally looks like somebody's home. It probably was a home and then they turned it into a coffee shop. Look at that. There's even an outdoor area. Check this out, guys.
A matcha cheers to this very cute coffee shop that seems to have won an award with Travel Advisor. In addition to the many cool things you can find inside the city of Oaxaca, there are also many other interesting places you can visit within a short drive of the city, such as Montalban, the ancient and massive capital of the Zapotec people, which supposedly dates back to over 2,000 years ago and is considered to be one of the largest ancient Mesoamerican cities. Or many interesting rock formations, being that Oaxaca is one of the most mountainous areas in the country, such as Yerba del Agua, which are basically massive petrified waterfalls not too far from the city. Believe it or not, there's a town by the name of Tule located about 5 to 10 miles east of the city that is home to one of the widest trees in the world next to its very picturesque historic plaza. And just like the city of Oaxaca, this town has some beautiful restaurants serving up some Oaxacan delicacies, such as this one which served freshly made tortillas as well as local drinks like this one made out of corn. And many amazing local dishes like this almond-based mole with beef tongue, which honestly was exquisite. Although there is so much to do and see in the city of Oaxaca and the surrounding areas, we will take a break from this region and head south towards Oaxaca's Pacific coast. Doing so, we go through the central highlands of the state, covered with many agave plantations, and then we enter a brand new tollway that takes us through the massive and very beautiful alpine-covered Sierra Sur mountains before finally arriving to the tropical touristic coast of the state. Here we will discover what I consider to be one of the most interesting and fun beach destinations in Mexico that many of you may not have visited or even heard about. We are talking about Puerto Escondido and the many alluring beaches in the area. Aside from beautiful beaches, this area is known for having some of the largest waves on the continent, making it a destination for surfers worldwide. I must also mention that this area is home to breathtaking coves. Not only does this area have so much beautiful nature and views revolving around the coastline, but it is also home to many eclectic shops, restaurants, and bars, which honestly to me creates a much more authentic and welcoming beach town vibe over the much larger coastal tourist destinations. Many of the bars and restaurants offer food from a variety of cultures, and honestly, the amount of diversity in this small place is astonishing. If you're looking for what I feel is a very underrated up-and-coming beach destination that has so much to do despite being fairly unexplored, then these next episodes are the episodes for you. And who knows, maybe after watching these episodes, you might find yourself in the area one day releasing baby turtles into the ocean, or even witnessing one of the most beautiful sunsets you have ever seen.